to another edition of Talking Shit. I am here with one of our members of our staff here who also has a lot of stuff going on. And today we were out at Robert's opening of the social justice program indoor office or facility over at El Camino College. And guess who was over there reading poetry?
They say her mind is fractured. The origin of its propagation has been contended ad nauseum. Has it been the long absence of honest labor or overload? She's long been astray from that which can be called progenitor. Her discourse is that of sleep aids and wine. Her physiology exhibits the same hostile paranoia, systemic inflammation, dysregulation of matrices. She is the agency that is surveilling and is therefore surveilled. Her episodes are increasing in frequency and intensity. We fear that she is beyond retrieve, for a fantasy that is cerebrum is losing its elastic form.
So Ethan, the name of your poem was called what was it called?
The Old Colossus.
And what is it actually? Can you talk a little bit about the poem?
Yeah, I was hoping someone would ask. Because a lot of art needs a lot of explanation because I believe most people don't. Today in mainstream culture, people aren't very inclined to art.
Well, no, but before you even talk about that, I only have started really kind of discussing art with you or Peter Gerard because I don't feel comfortable telling people I don't kind of know what you mean.
Right.
So that's one of the reasons why I'm afraid to talk about it. Go ahead.
No, of course. Okay, the Old Colossus. It's a reference to a poem that they actually. There's a poet, I forgot her name, but and she they asked her to write a poem to sort of win over the hearts of Americans when they were trying to sell the idea of the Statue of Liberty, and her poem was called The New Colossus, and obviously it was to promote the Statue of Liberty, so that's where that comes from. So this. One of the themes throughout this poem is the Statue of Liberty and the things that it represents, and all through the poem are metaphors about it. So the first one the first line I have here says, "They say her mind is fractured," which is a reference to schizophrenia, because the meaning of the word schizophrenia and its I guess Latin roots or whatever it is split mind, different from split personality, but it translates to split mind, meaning. And the next line is, "The origin of its propagation has been contended ad nauseum." So, which basically means people have talked about what might have caused it, the schizophrenia, the way that the mind. In this case, the Statue of Liberty might have gotten that way, which can also be interpreted as, reflective of maybe somehow the way our bipartisan system works. And, for example, we have two sides. We have the left and the right wing.
The blue pill and the red pill.
Right. So that's that. So, however you want to interpret that. And it says, "Has it been the long absence of honest labor or overload?" So, maybe people can argue the way that we've gotten to schizophrenic state is maybe because there's not enough work, which is a comment on employment, or perhaps people might suggest that we're actually overworked, overload. So there's that. She's long been astray from that which can be called progenitor. So, which means that she's now disconnected from any sort of sense of origin where she might have came from, which is another comment on sort of how our nation is a nation of immigrants, and I personally believe that our country is that. The way that we started can sort of be observed as a phenomenon in which we have sort of left our origins to come to this country, America,
to carry out this own vision of ourselves, because
Do you actually believe that America is more of an idea than an actual thing that exists, or?
yeah, obviously it manifests in in a physical reality. But
Yeah, well, we're carrying around
right,
that idea. But my point is that you and I have
precisely.
discussed it, that
Yeah.
America is more of an idea than necessarily like a place
Yes.
where things are. What I hear also, and I'll let you continue. What I also hear is that you're saying that, or correct me if I'm wrong, that there's these things that we say America is, but this is like what is really going on, or what really is happening, or what really is taking place.
Right.
In lieu of what we're told by the lines in the poem, like it's supposed to be this, but this is what's really going on.
Right.
Kind of a call and response, like a Negro spiritual. But go
Yeah,
ahead.
I'm glad you're actually picking up on that,
Yeah.
because it's what psychologists may have called a cognitive dissonance, meaning it's like it's sort of like, okay, do I work at this job, and I might not like it. I may not intrinsically like the kind of work that I do, but I like that when I do the work that I don't like to do, that I get this reward, this paycheck, right? So even though I don't want to do the work, right? It's like I'm still going after the thing that I do like, and trying to tell myself that I like the job because I like the other results from it. When in
So
fact,
you're being reinforced, which is actually going over
yeah.
there.
So cognitive dissonance means there's a dissonance. There's sort of a disconnect between, the reality of how I feel about it on the inside and the other sort of parallel reality that I'm trying to tell myself about.
Well, based on the poem that you've written, what do you think, like, in lieu of some of the things you've already gone over, and of course you'll continue, but what do you think, like, what's the biggest, like, disconnect that you see? And I know there's a lot of topics, but what is, like, the biggest lie or fraudulent aspect of this, metaphorically heard, the crack? What's in that crack? Crack. But what is it? What is the biggest, like, lie? Like earlier today, we heard a poet talk about money.
Right.
Just the whole it's a farce. Is that what white people call it? The farce of it all. What do you think is the biggest fart or farce when it comes to, like, the Americanology of it all? What do you think it is?
Well, geez.
Well, you don't have to say, like, the thing, but, like,
Right.
give me one that really bugs the fuck out of you.
I can't
Black people.
really, yeah, black people. Yeah. I can't really think of one specific one.
I think the whole idea drives me mad.
Yeah,
I think
no,
it's the whole thing. It's not like I'm angry and I want to start,
Right.
violence. Or like, for example, the guy who had I just had like a spiritual breakthrough in regards to some other stuff. I was thinking about, like, the guy who was really mean about the gay community with the noodles and the pasta. And our automatic response was, okay, let's ban this fucker. Don't buy any of his products. Well, what do you think would happen if we all the gays would have just went out and just bought all this fucking pasta and just bought it, like, really, like, went and bought it and shipped it to China or just Africa or whatever, and bought all this stuff, like a positive response to his hateful, negative BS, or because, like, one of the poems that I heard earlier today was the black guy when he was saying that there's been more black on black crime, and blacks have been killing blacks more than the actual number of deaths that have been accounted for by the Ku Klux Klan toward blacks.
Right.
That's frightening. Okay,
Right.
that's an backwards ass
Yeah.
kind of a thing. That's I think it's true.
Yeah, no, totally. I mean.
So we're taught this stuff.
I suppose that this poem is talking a lot about being able to recognize facts like that, or realities like that.
Right.
I guess if there's a disconnect, one that really bothers me that I can think of now is probably the way media portrays our reality, you know, and the way that we the way we so readily accept it, you know, because we are we are being told that, you know, our
there's
our
no
state-
money. That's the one that,
Yeah.
remember we were in the store one time, Ethan and I were in the store one time, and they were saying that there was going to be a food shortage in America. And what it is really a shortage of people giving people food. Does that make sense? There's no, so we see all this rice all over the place and food and everything. It's like, wow, this really is a struggle, this food shortage. I mean, do you see my fat ass? Do it look like I'm suffering from a food shortage, my fat ass? So I understand what you mean, because it seems like there's almost like this fantasy of fear-based shit to control a certain amount of people to get a certain amount of pleasure. And I think that's what this I mean, like they said that the guy who ran the cleanup effort for New Orleans, the mayor, is now being charged and has been convicted for stealing all this money from all these contractors and stuff when he was trying to rebuild New Orleans after Hurricane Katrina. And in spite of the fact that we all believe that Bush did a horrible job, here we have the mayor, the black mayor, you know, probably just no better than the racist bastard from Texas who was missing for 8 years high off cocaine. So I feel like your poem, and I want you to do one more. Give me one more example of one more of the lines out of there that you were talking about, like the disconnect. Give me another one before we close.
Let's see here. Okay. Well, the next line, the line that comes next is her discourse is that of sleep aids and wine. So basically, she's our mentality in American society is very belligerent. That's basically what I'm trying to say there. You know,
It reminds me of the scales with Lady Justice too. Like, what's really on those scales?
Right. So.
420 make you hot lap.
Yeah, our mentality is very belligerent, and it's being fueled. You know, basically, you know, sleep aids, the pharmaceutical industry, wine, which can be taken.
This is a drinking society. Yeah.
Drugs, you know, alcohol, intoxicants, right? So.
Stimulation.
Right, you know, prescription drugs, anything, you know. The FDA is one department for a reason, you know, the Food and Drugs Administration, you know, so it's like, you know,
how much dope are we gonna put in
everything we're consuming, you know. So, and her physiology exhibits the same hostile paranoia. So physiology, there's been studies in psychology that suggest that in schizophrenia, that there's things also going. There's also things that are abnormal with one's physiological makeup. So in the next line, it said systemic inflammation. So they say that basically that schizophrenics may have sort of overactive immune systems, and so here I'm also, I don't know how perceptible this is, but I'm also kind of referring to Border Patrol, just our Homeland Security, you know, our defense system, dysregulation of matrices. So dysregulation means that the matrix in the body, and I'm not a scientist, so I'm probably butchering the terminology here, but and the actual function of matrices or matrices rather. So the dysregulation of them, which is different from deregulation. Dysregulation means that it regulates in a way that's improper, you know. So when I'm there, I'm also kind of making a comment about our borders and how exaggerated our fear of immigrants are.
Yeah, it's really I see your point, because Dr. King used to talk a lot about you're talking about schizophrenia, and he compared America's behavior to like being neurotic. Like there's a sort of neurosis about how this country is ran. He's talking about freedom, then you have the Electoral College. You talk about voters' rights,
Yeah.
but now 25, 30, 40 years later, we're taking all those rights back.
Yeah.
And now we're supposed to be afraid of these people who are from other parts of the same planet that we're all helping destroy
Right.
with global warming and blowing each other up. I was talking to a guy who will be coming on our show named Mark from the West LA area. He gave me his book and he signed it. No, I'm not going to sell it on eBay. And should I show? Oh, I'm sorry. It's a blank page. And he signed it for me. He's going to be coming on the show. He, like Ethan, he has a book of essays that he has written that pontificates on what Ethan is writing about in his poetry. And I'm going to try to get permission from Ethan to put his link to some of his blogging that he does under the video caption once we post this video. That's all the time we have for now. I was going to have he and Robert argue, but Ethan doesn't like to fight. So I'm going to have Robert on later. Thank you very much.